Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Shannon Griffin. I am the community organizer with the ACLU of Delaware. And we're here today. We're actually really pleased to be here today because I think this really marks the continuation of some great work that's already been done by community members in the city of Wilmington and across the state for many years. But I think this is really important because I think we're all working together in a more collaborative way that I don't think we've ever seen before. So I'm really excited about that. The Coalition for Fairness and Equity in Schools it's a group that ACLU has convened since January. The group is a very diverse group. We have community members, leaders of nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, parent leaders, parent advocates, teachers, just regular parents involved as well. And so we're excited because what we're really requesting is to have a seat at the table. So when we're talking about this issue with the school-to-prison pipeline and the types of issues that are happening in our schools, we're saying as a community, we have a voice, we actually have solutions and expertise, and we want to be a part of the process for change. So the Coalition for Fairness and Equity in Schools, our mission is to develop a community-based group that works collaboratively with educators and policymakers to ensure a quality public education for all Delaware students. Our vision: we envision an education system that fosters a positive environment where all students are educated and respected, discipline policies and procedures are fair, equitable, applied consistently, and are clearly understood. Children are given an opportunity to learn from their mistakes and grow, and families and communities are engaged in the process. So to that end, we've come up with some specific recommendations that we would like to see implemented, not just for Newcastle County, but statewide. And again, we have convened over the past several months to develop these recommendations, and we're really pleased that our City Council and Newcastle County Council have agreed to adopt these resolutions so that we can really begin to have a clear vision and some clear steps for change. So to that end, I'm going to turn it over to our council members who have actually sponsored the resolution. City Council actually passed theirs, and we're hoping that Newcastle, the county will pass theirs tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Chukocha and Councilman J Street.
Good afternoon, everyone. This was mentioned about the coalition and its efforts. First, I'd like to thank all of my colleagues on Wilmington City Council for passing our resolution supporting the recommendations of the coalition. As many of you know, the coalition's work dealing with to end the school-to-prison pipeline is very important. As Shannon said, we've been meeting for about the past 6 months, and it's been a great, true coalition, nation-building effort where the nonprofits, faith-based organization, parents, community leaders, and elected officials are all working together to really look at the root causes. And as we think about the violence in our city of Wilmington, one of the known root causes of violence in our community is education. And currently, here in the city of Wilmington, our districts are truly doing a disservice to our city. I mean, we rather in terms of our educational outcomes as well as socially. Our children are really receiving the short end of the stick, and the inequality and the punitive policies that many of the districts are implementing are truly troubling for our city. So the work that they're doing is very important, just as the war on drugs was really a war on poor communities. So too, and that has led to the mass incarceration of so many young black males and Hispanic males in our institutions throughout our country. And so too are so many zero tolerance policies within the school districts that really have unfair punitive measures associated, and they being implemented throughout our city, county, and state schools, and a direct correlation that has to the dropout rates within our city. As the chair of the Education, Youth, and Families Committee, I'm very excited about the work of the coalition, its efforts, and assisting the city in pushing forward the discussion about how we begin to implement these recommendations. As we, as a city, grapple with how we're going to become more involved in the role of our city, in role of education within our children in our city. As most of you know, that since 1978, our city has had a very I would say, limited at best role in the education of our cities as far as the educational outcomes. And as we try to change that, these recommendations are very important as we begin to strengthen the working relationships with the districts that serve the city of Wilmington. Some of the recommendations that are really key to me when it speaks about the community-based advisory committees and the school-based review teams that really promote the civic and community engagement, working together with the leaderships of the districts and of the schools. And the true need of being mentioned that within having additional training for teachers, whether you want to call it cultural competence or cultural awareness training, it is very true that there is additional staff training needed. So many of our, based on my own experiences, both inside of the school and inside of the community, I honestly believe that children very rarely disrespect or go against those when they know that individual or teacher or individual who is in a guidance role to them truly has a genuine care and concern for them. So I think it's about truly establishing those relationships. I think that level of understanding is something that needs to be brought in, not only community-based, but also inside of the schools. So really recreating that learning environment both inside of the schools and outside of the schools is very important. And again, I think that the recommendations are very key. They point us in the right direction. And lastly, I think that the recommendation that any changes have to be driven by data. They have to be data driven, and we have to have open and honest assessments about where we are currently and where we want to go for our students. So again, I thank my colleagues on council for supporting the resolution, and I look forward to county council passing their resolution, and then for the coalition itself to continue to work with the districts and other elected officials to bring these recommendations to bear for the good of not only our city students, but also students within our county and state. Thank you.
I'm going to be brief. I'm real excited about a couple things. First, let me clear the record. I have no idea what county council will do tonight. We're not allowed to caucus, and given some of the things that I'm involved in, I make it my practice not to violate any rules. So I'm optimistic about its passage, but I have no idea. Second, I've been in the arena now 39 and a half years, be 40 years in December. I've been the primary voice in education for city children for the last 25. What I'm most excited about, it's time for new players. It's time for new warriors. They're standing behind me. I think the sad part is, for me, I got into the arena when there was a Wilmington School District. I know I'll never be able to leave the arena better than I found it, because it was much better in 1974. But we've been dealing with this now for 20 years. The school-to-prison pipeline, the statistics and the data speak for itself. In her August 1994 opinion and order freeing the school district from federal supervision, Judge Sue Robinson said Delaware had one of the highest rates of juvenile incarceration in the country, one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancy in the country, one of the highest rates of infant mortality in the country, and therefore the schools should not be imposed upon and expected to resolve all the social problems of the state. We didn't go around berating judges and protesting. Her opinion was her opinion, but she was wrong, because the common denominator with all those issues is education. So I commend this coalition, I support this coalition, and I want to add to it, because there's city council members standing behind me, there's one standing in back of the cameras. And I am going to vigorously fight for this before I come off the battlefield. Wilmington, Delaware can no longer be the only city in the United States of America that as a government has no responsibility and no control over the educational destiny of its own children.
Thank you very much. And I would be remiss if I don't at least acknowledge, this is a very small part of our coalition. We're 25 full members and growing. But we have Debbie Wilson, who is the CEO, president of the Wilmington Metropolitan Urban League. And we also have Sherry Dorsey Walker, who's our city councilman woman, and Hanifa Shabazz, who's also a city councilwoman. So I appreciate their support.
Mike Brown hide up back there in the back.
Oh, and Mr. Mike Brown in the back as well. So we're really grateful for the momentum that we are able to, that we're seeing, and we're excited about what's to come. I think this is a really good opportunity to get the broader community involved, and so we are actually launching a community forum series. Our first forum is actually tonight at 6 o'clock from 6 to 7:30 at Harvest Christian Fellowship for Newport Gap Pike. And the purpose is to create awareness to the general public, but also help them to be able to engage in the process. So supporting the recommendations is a part of it, but also helping to lend their voices for change, to begin to be more active in their schools, be more active in school board meetings, and the like. So again, we're excited. We will be staying behind to answer some questions that any of you may have. And again, we're looking forward to some really positive things happening. Thank you again for coming.